Okay, well, hello everyone at the Be Awesome Network. I'm so excited to be bringing you Coach Brianna Hosack today. Coach Brianna, how are you? Are you okay? Can I call you Coach Brianna?
Yeah, or you can even say Coach Bree. That's actually what most people online know me as is Coach Bree. So they always shorten it. I don't know how it started, but it started and now everybody calls me that.
I love it. I love it. Coach Bree. Okay, well, thank you for joining us today. We were just chatting before we went online, and you have a lot going on. So basically, why don't you tell us where in the world are you coming to us from? And then what have you been up to lately? Then we'll kind of get into your story.
Sure. I am in Alberta, Canada, actually. Um, and and I totally just blanked on what else you said. Where I'm from and what else?
What have you been up to lately?
What have I been up to lately? Well, all of August, I did this birthday month August or offers challenge thing. I don't know why. I got the nudge, I followed it, and I dropped an offer a day, like a different offer every day through all of August. So it was really, really busy. Then my website went down and I'm starting from scratch. So I'm literally recreating it all. Um, and I also just ran like my most popular thing that I run, which is my business planning boot camp. I just ran that one. I'm supporting the VIPs still after the fact, and just about to start into actually a new program that I created, which is an offer evolution circle. So these are all like business focused things. I do a mix of business and spiritual type stuff. Um, but pretty much I have been doing almost everything lately. It's just been insane. But it kind of works for me. I am a manifesting generator. I'm an ADHD woman. Like whatever, all the things. So it just kind of fits me to always have 50 things on the go.
I love it. And you're also a mom.
Yeah. Single mom. Yeah. Of three. And I've got
Yeah.
animals as well. So yeah. Yeah. Always busy.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you have a pretty full life, which is always fun. And
Yeah.
let's get into this concept that you were talking about, suspending disbelief. Let's talk about
Yeah.
that. I would love to learn more about that.
Sure. So um I think like 140 days in on this challenge. So it's been several months now. But I was listening to another podcast. It's called the Manifestation Babe podcast, if anyone's ever heard of it. But she was talking about this thing that she did where for 365 days she suspended all disbelief. And basically that just means she believed like crazy, right? So it was like goals and just really went for so she recommended it and all of that, and it really landed for me. So I was like, I'm doing this, and I reached out to I got kind of nudged with a couple of names that were mostly my clients, other people in my audience, stuff like that. And I said like, hey, I want to challenge you to try and do this. And I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do like a daily verbal journal. You can listen along if you want so that you kind of don't feel like you're doing it alone. And then I shared it with my two biz besties, and they both went, okay. So one of them started a blog about it. One of them started a Telegram channel about it. I started a podcast, and it just really took off. Um, and it's all just about like we doubt ourselves so much, right? And it's just about like complete suspension of disbelief. And the changes that have happened for me, I'm a little off the 1/3 of the way mark for the 365-day challenge, and the changes have been astronomical. So, and I did it instead of just doing the challenge, I did it my way, which is vulnerable and authentic as hell. So I hope it's okay to say that on here. But I don't hold back. I share very, very, very vulnerably about who I am, what's going on with me, all of that kind of stuff. I don't sugarcoat things for my audience and all of that. So it's raw. It is completely raw. I don't edit the episodes, anything like that. Um, So yeah, I just started sharing it with like a few people, and then a couple more got on board, and then all these people were messaging me, I'm doing this with you, I'm doing this with you. And it just became this movement of like, we're suspending disbelief and we're changing our lives. And it's been absolutely incredible. So very, very exciting. Yeah.
Wow. Well,
And I've
okay.
had,
So
I mean, like business growth and personal growth and everything in between, right? So yeah, very exciting.
yeah, well, I love that. I love that. Can you give us an example of maybe some changes that you've made?
Absolutely. I mean, revenue has been a big, big part of it. So I've been doing the coaching thing for a long time now. I've been running my own successful businesses for a little over 12 years now. Um, and I was doing really well. I was at like the 8K month mark. And then I had like I tore up my whole life. I was married to a narcissist. I was really struggling, all the things. Um, did everything that I could to try to fix things while I was there. That dragged on for a really long time, long story short. But I left. And when I left, my life fell apart. So every client had something. It was like, I can't pay, or their contract was up and they were just done. Like they didn't need to renew, or um, I had like someone was going on maternity leave. And so like it was everything, right? People were moving and just all the things. And I went from $8,000 months where I knew that I could support myself and my three kids to zero, literally zero. And I hadn't done my taxes, and it was like right at the mark where they stopped sending out child benefits, which they do here in Canada, and all of that stuff, because I hadn't got that caught up. So it was like, well, you're not going to get those payments every month either. And he wasn't paying me child support yet. And it just was, I literally went from up here to down here in 1 month, 8K to zero. So it was like, it was drastic. It was traumatic. And it was also traumatic, right? I mean, the kids and myself, like that's a very big life change. It was a lot. So we were going through a lot. We were processing a lot of emotion. We were struggling. Everything was new routines, new location, new everything. So, um, and then literally the week after I left, he took the kids camping, and I was trying to meditate, which at the time was very difficult for me. And it was the first time I ever heard clearly my spirit guides, and it was, "You're a shaman." And I was like, "What? What does that mean?" I had no idea what that was. What came into my head was like an old guy covered in bones and feathers and like all kind of, whatever. And I was just like, "What are you talking about?" And but anyway, it kickstarted my spiritual awakening, basically. So I ended up going into training for shamanism. I've done all three levels. I'm an certified advanced shamanic practitioner now. Um, and I'm a completely different person, right? I went from like this corporate mindset, even though I was an entrepreneur, I like that old way of thinking, into this very new and awakened way of thinking. And just my life, it really went through a full transformation. So that took about 2 years for me to really get my feet back under me again. And when I started this, I was really struggling financially still. So I had the know-how, right, to build a business, to run a successful business, all of this stuff. But I was just struggling. I was like, it's so different in the spiritual circles versus the business circles that I've been in before. And um, so one of the things that she talked about on her podcast episode that I had picked this up from was how our highest point before is basically our rock bottom now. Like we can always get back to that point. So it's a little bit more complicated than that, but um, it reminded me that I know how to make $8,000 a month. I have done that before. There's no reason why I can't do it again, right? So that was one of the main things that I was suspending disbelief about. Um, and I mean, when I started, I owed my mom like over $5,000. I was like borrowing left, right, and center. I have four brothers. I owed a few of them money. It was just, I was in that kind of a space. And not even like, I don't feel guilty about that. It was a rough phase of life, but I wanted to be out of that space. I wanted to be independent again. I wanted to be supporting myself and my three kids the way that I thought I was going to be when I left, right? That I had that stability, and it was just like poof, gone. So literally day one of the podcast was me telling the real and raw situation that I was in, the mess that I was in. And as people listen, you literally follow along with like, holy crap, all the things. Like I'm going to be speaking on a bigger stage beginning of October. I am starting a book. I have doubled my month to date revenue from last month to this one. Like it is astronomical shifts very, very quickly, right? And again, I have that foundation of knowing how to do that from before, but it's also um that couple of years was so traumatic that it could have held me back for a lot longer. But by suspending disbelief, I have just moved through these things so much faster. And I mean, there are episodes where I'm sobbing. There are episodes like it is very real and raw. So I think that's really what draws people to it, because there's so much fake stuff in the world, right? There's so much of people just trying to look perfect online and trying to make it seem like they're better than they are or whatever. And I really am just like, this is me, guys. And it is so wide open and raw. And my mom, I didn't actually tell my mom that I was doing it. She's very supportive of my businesses and stuff, but I just never told her because I wanted to feel like that freedom of I can just say whatever it is without feeling like I needed to edit for my mom. And she discovered it. So she was like, she's like, oh, I've been catching up on your podcast, you and your F bombs and you and your, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. Because my mom is like ultra religious and, very strict and all of these things. So it was like, well, that happened, but it's too late now. So it's all good. And then, she's telling me like she's a teacher, and she's been a substitute teacher mostly, and like had a couple of year-long contracts and whatever, all of these things. And she was like, I was praying for a contract for the year, but I didn't want it to start until a week into the school year because I wanted to get some of these projects done that I was working on over the summer. And it was like a few days into the school year, and I started really freaking out that I didn't have a contract yet. And then I realized that I had specifically asked to not get one until it had been a week into the school year. And she was like, and then I realized I was not honoring my daughter who is suspending disbelief for a whole year. So I decided to suspend disbelief. And guess what? I got this contract, and I was like, amazing. So it's just, that's the kind of stories that I'm hearing consistently. People are reaching out and being like, okay, this is what happened because I tried your thing. Right. And I'm like, that's so incredible. It's so incredible that people are just changing their lives like crazy. And it just turned into this movement, and people are just hopping on board. And I don't even know all these people. And I'm like, whoa. So me being real and raw works, I guess. Right. But yeah, it literally has changed everything. It has, my relationship with my kids has transformed. My money situation has transformed. My business is taking off again, like all the things. So yeah, very cool.
Okay. I love
Yeah.
that. So I know we can't learn in a short time like this how to suspend disbelief, but can you give us just a little window into the world of what does that look like?
Sure. So there's a few statements that I was repeating a lot that really helped me keep my mindset in check. And I say them a lot on the podcast, right? One is that my success is inevitable. It is something that is going to happen no matter what. And I can either get in the way of that or I can allow it to happen, kind of thing, right? So that statement has been really, really powerful. And actually it shifted, it might have been about a month or two in, where I started seeing the physical 3D evidence of my success coming back in, and was like, nope, that doesn't apply anymore. My success is here. And I started saying my success is here instead of my success is inevitable. And that was really powerful. And there was also a couple of shifts that had a really big impact on me. And I know on several members of my audience who repeat it all the time now and stuff like that, right? Where things like I create, or I choose to feel what I want to create. So I'm choosing to it's the whole idea of manifestation and being the person that you want to become, right? And it's such a difficult concept for people to really grasp. Like, how do I be that person? If I want to be a millionaire, does that mean I have to start spending money like a millionaire? No, that's not what that means, right? And it's the conscious, it's the mindset and um the way that you're making decisions and really being that embodied person. So yeah, I choose to feel the way, or I choose to feel what I'm creating is one of them. And um yeah, there's been a couple of really big things that really stood out. One of my biz besties had actually, she did like a little YouTube video randomly and was like, so this is what happens with manifestation. And she was talking about like electrons and protons and neutrons and how the electrons are like the negative things on the outside, but what you're calling in is in the middle. And if you don't let those negative things come in, then you actually push away your manifestations. So with that one, it was a really good metaphor. And at the same time, I started reading the book, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, which is all about the upper limit problems. So they just all really went hand in hand and tied in really well together. And basically what it is that our beliefs have a limit, right? We're at a point where, okay, this is where I believe at right now. I want to be here. And when we get to this point of in the manifestation, then it's like, okay, something has to go wrong because I don't believe I can have anything better than here, right? And um a lot of this process has been me breaking through those limits as I go up and up and up, right? And it's been absolutely mind-blowing. It's incredible. Um and for me, the reason that I can say that, so like it's been really incredible what I've been doing. It's more because I'm literally getting these reports of how everyone else is copying it and being like, it's working for me too. So I'm like, that's amazing. Um, but it's breaking through those limiting beliefs. It's breaking through your barriers, your upper limit, your glass ceiling, whatever you want to call it, right? um and just believing in what seemed impossible before, and really embodying that belief, integrating that belief. So it's not just like affirmations, which I know a lot of people have a thing with, right? Where it's like, okay, affirmations don't really work because if you don't believe it, it doesn't come in. No, this is believing it. So it's like it's very different in that way. And I do like right at the beginning of the podcast, I go through all the like this is what she was talking about. I even link her episode so that everybody can hear like the original where it came from. I don't take credit for that, right? But I'm like, I'm just sharing my experiences along the way and the learnings that I have and the mindset that comes up and the roadblocks that come up, right? And all those electrons um and some have been really big, some have been really hard. Like I have several years worth of stuff on my website. I had a blog, I had multiple memberships, courses, all the things. And the host of the site um turned out to be a scam. I had just moved everything over and then they did like a bait and switch. So I had to pull all my stuff off and I'm starting over. And it's like upper limit problem. So, but at the same time, as that happened, I also have doubled my month to date revenue from last month. So because I'm not fighting it, because I'm not like, this isn't how it's supposed to be, and I can't handle this, and it's too much, and I'm not giving up, I'm not spiraling down. Um, I'm still having that growth even through the hard bits, if that makes sense. So I don't know if that fully answers your question. It is a lot to try to explain in a short amount of time, but
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. I love the way that you described like feeling the feelings and saying the things to yourself, reframing, of course. We've all heard the
yeah,
reframe what you're saying to yourself,
yeah.
right? But it's a very, very practical, very helpful. Thank you for that. I was just thinking this the other day where I was really busy and I was almost, well, no, I said it out loud. I said, I'm so overwhelmed. And then I
Mm.
thought, you know what? No, because overwhelm is actually went through a really hard time with my nervous system where my nervous system was overwhelmed. So then I'm telling my brain and my body, you're overwhelmed, and then my body is going to react, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
instead of saying that, I rephrased it and said, no, I'm not overwhelmed. I'm full. My schedule is full. My life is full. My heart is full. So it was just like,
Yeah.
made
And
such a
I get
difference.
to do these things. I
Yeah.
get to have this growth. I get to, yeah. And it's like, and it's basically just an episode a day, literally, of me doing that. Right. And verbalizing it all, reflecting on my day, all the things that happened, all the things that came up, the ways that I worked through it, everything. And then yeah, and then some people have, there was a lot, especially at the beginning, where people were asking a million questions about how to do this, and I was like, "Okay, I actually have programs that people pay me for, so like this is, I don't have time to just answer questions about this, as amazing as I think that it is." So I put together like a coaching pod where people can come in. It's a monthly payment or a yearly payment or whatever. And I have actually a co-coach who's one of my biz besties that took on this challenge with me. And she shares about mindset in her blog and all of this stuff, all the mindset stuff that comes up. Gives so many really good examples of how she suspends disbelief in her life and the things that she suspends disbelief about. And hers are so, I'm just like, I feel like she takes it even to a deeper level than I do sometimes, where it's like, I suspended disbelief that I could accomplish this task in the amount of time. And like she does it with everything. And it's so powerful, right? So we decided to do it together, do this coaching pod together, and people can come in and ask their questions and just have that support if needed. And some people like to do that long term, and most people are just want a little bit of support as they kind of get the ball rolling, and then they hop back out, right? But it's, yeah, I don't know. It's been a really wild ride. It's been incredible. It has changed everything. And I'm only a third of the way through. I'm like, by the end of this year, like I don't even know how far I could possibly be. It's exciting. It's thrilling. It's sometimes a little scary, right? Like speaking on stage next month. I've wanted to speak on stage for a long time, but now that it's coming in for real, it's like, it's a little nerve wracking. Like I'm not even, if picking your topic and writing your talk and like all of these things, it's just like, well, this is different. This is new. And on top of everything else I've got going on, it feels huge, right? So as exciting as it is, it also feels huge. And there's just that duality of life, right? Um, which is really, I love it. I love the duality. I love looking at it, like dissecting the duality and just being like, well, isn't that interesting how that works? So yeah.
Love it. Love it. Well, so how can what's the name of your podcast? And we'll link it in the comments after we
Sure.
end the live, but
Yeah.
what's the name of your podcast?
It's called Suspending Disbelief, a challenge, 365 days of my raw suspending disbelief journey. So um I might even be saying that wrong. I made it like this long thing because there was one that was just called Suspending Disbelief, and there, there's so many podcasts out there now, so I had to make it unique. But yeah, it starts with that suspending disbelief thing.
Okay.
Um,
And
and
is it on
I
all
can send you the link
platforms?
for that.
Okay.
Yep, yep,
Okay.
it is. Yep. Like I said it when we were talking privately, I was just gonna do it like just for myself as like a verbal podcast before a verbal journal. Um, and then it was like everybody that was hopping on board, well, can I listen to it on this platform? Can I listen to it on that one? So then it was like, okay, I'll put it everywhere. So there's my raw and real self out there for the world to hear, right? And it's been crazy. Like the numbers of listens are just skyrocketing, and the number of listeners are just skyrocketing, and it's just like watching it from the back end is like, how is this happening? So it's pretty cool. Yeah,
Love it.
but I'll
Well,
definitely send you that link.
okay, perfect. And just have to say that it's exciting to see your transformation even in this short time that we've been talking, as far as, coming from where you came from in the dark night of the soul, or
Yeah.
your the rock bottom,
Yep.
whatever you want to call it, and then starting to rise up. And just I would just I want to ask if you, what would you say to someone who's kind of in the situation where you were, where everything seems to be going wrong? And how would you
Mm.
want to encourage that person?
So this for me is has become a very shamanic based belief. So a dark night of the soul is really a thing in shamanism. And really what it is we are all manifestors. We're all creators. We're creating our lives, right? So when we're manifesting something, when we're saying we want something, I want to make $1 million. I want to find the love of my life. I want, this, that, and the other thing. We put that out into the universe and we're not necessarily ready to receive it. So a dark night of the soul is the universe, or God, source, universe, whatever you want to call it. It's the universe's way of getting your life into alignment with that thing that you're calling in. So for me, what I wanted for my life wasn't going to happen being with my narcissistic ex. It just wasn't. So he needed to fall away. We needed to have that breakdown in our relationship. Um, my, there's always a reason for all of it, but a dark night of the soul is like, yeah, like you said, everything is going wrong. It's that $8,000 a month to zero. It's all the things. And the the biggest thing that I've learned is to release the resistance around those things falling away. In the moment, it feels scary. We don't want to lose what we're comfortable with, what we're used to, what we're accustomed to. And it's just, um, the more you resist it, the more you fight it, the longer it lasts. So, and this is really something that I've learned because the 2 years prior to this, where I was it was literally almost like a 2 year long dark night of the soul. It was nonstop. I was going through so many transformations, doing so much shadow work, doing, all this stuff, and just everything was just breaking down constantly. And what I've learned in this, I mean, through that, and then in this suspending disbelief challenge, is to stop making it mean something and to just let it happen. And I've had a lot of really hard things happen. Even since this whole suspending disbelief thing, I've had really good friends do a complete 180. I've had just things that just caused so much grief for me and that made me feel awful. And instead of bemoaning my fate, right? Instead of like, why is this happening to me? And this is awful and it shouldn't be like this. Instead of doing that, I'm looking for the lesson in everything. I'm allowing the emotions to flow. That has been a huge learning curve for me because I was always taught not to show my emotions, right? So that's been a big one. But allowing all of that to flow and trusting that there is something, whether that's again God, source, universe, goddess, whatever, something that knows better than I do what it is that my life needs to look like in order to have the things that really matter to me. And things that really matter to me, I'm a delusional type dreamer. So I'm the person that's going to change the world because I don't believe that I won't, right? So it's like you have to be that crazy to make that kind of change, right? But in order for that to happen, a lot of things in my life had to shift and a lot of things had to fall away. And that's alignment. That is your life aligning with what you're calling in. So just don't resist it. That's really the only advice is like, just don't resist, do your best to just let go of those outcomes, to trust that it is all for the best. It's all for the best interests of all. And, do your best to just go through life being kind and being careful not to hurt others. And if things fall away, that probably means that they're just not in alignment with the person you're becoming. Right. So, it's a scary thought, but when you lean into it and you allow it, it really does end up for the best. It really does. And I can say that from so much experience. So, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you, Coach Bree, for sharing all of what you just shared with us at the Be Awesome Network. And I'm so grateful that we got to connect. And if
Yeah.
you are watching and you want to connect with Coach Bree, please check the comments because we're going to drop her links in the comments and you can find her podcast and her website. Well, maybe not your website.
You know what though? I do have it's like bare bones right now, but people can still go there. But I also have a Facebook group, and that's probably the best way for people to connect with me right now. It is my online village. It's a really
Wonderful.
great space as well. So yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And before we log off, would you like to give us any closing thoughts?
You know, I really think like with all of these things, if you decide that you want to suspend disbelief, if you decide that you are going to go for it, right? The big dreams that you have and you're like, I'm going to suspend disbelief that I can make this happen. Just go into it eyes wide open. Be ready for the shifts that are going to happen because they are going to happen. And it's just we can always learn when things are hard. There's always something to learn. So just release the outcome, just allow it to flow, just like you allow emotions to flow, and you'll move through it faster. It won't hurt for as long, all of that. Um, and and I always say like it doesn't even have to be me, but make sure you have your circle of support. Make sure you have a community, a village that you can lean on, because a dark night of the soul is no joke. It's really hard, and mental health is a real thing. So if you are struggling, make sure that you have a circle. And before you dive into something like this, if you don't have a circle, get a circle before you start diving into this because you're going to need it. And there are communities out there, people who just will be amazing and supportive, even if you're completely broke, right? You don't have to invest to do that. I love investing personally. I love to invest, and I have things that people can invest with me, but you can do it for free too. There's really no limit that can make you incapable of doing this. So, yeah.
Wow, great advice. Thank you so much.
Thanks for
And
having me. This was fun.
yeah. Well, I'm glad we connected, like I said. And I'm just very interested. I'm going to start listening to your podcast when we hang up.
Cool. How exciting. Let me know how you like it.
I sure
It's
will.
pretty raw, especially at the beginning. So just
Yeah,
be
well,
warned.
that doesn't scare me. Well, thank you again,
Awesome.
Coach Bree. And if you're listening right now and you want to connect with Coach Bree, please check the comments. And
Yeah.
I just want to remind you today, if no one has told you yet, you are awesome. We can be awesome together. And that's really what it's all about. And so thanks for joining us. And we'll see you guys next
Love it.
time.
Thank you. Amazing.